in it.
Nice.
You can set this up for different guests. You
Yeah,
can
yeah.
make when Carl was here through like Eric Thomas, we're
Mhm.
just doing the show, waiting for him to call back.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he helped get some of these pre things going, but you can get way more fancy if you got someone that
Yeah, no,
I'm just like,
pretty
how do
cool.
I do it
Yeah,
to
no, I
where
think it's a pretty cool platform.
let me exit, try to jump back in. Okay, cool. So we'll figure this out in some editing and stuff, or maybe we'll just leave this in. But as Wesley's getting ready to jump on, Wesley Huff is so with Billy, like you can watch the previous show, and I've had the honor of being on his podcast. So like-minded in so many ways, and I've been talking about this for a while. I'm like, it'd be interesting to have you on and discuss. I don't love overly getting obsessed with the word religion, so
Mhm.
I would say more of where some of the beliefs differ. If I was to be connected to a religion, it would be closest to Christianity and the Bible. Although the Old Testament, I have still it's the New Testament and Jesus's teachings. I have my whole life story where that changed me and transformed me belief wise as a
Mhm.
person. And okay, it says he's in the green room.
Okay.
And let's see. We got Wes on.
Hello, hello.
Wes, we got you back on. So I'll introduce Wes too, but yeah, what I was just saying real quick, Billy, too, is I also a shared belief I think too with you with God is I also believe I don't believe I know God is within me too.
Mhm.
It's just and I don't believe that it's like you have to do 20 circles in the sand and
Right.
like do a ritual to that was through like my connection with Jesus where I know throughout my life that's been my when things are tough it's
Mhm.
like the strength of God is literally
Right.
within me
Right.
as so like where we do agree on where like a lot of the heresies and stuff through over religious practices would be like no you have to come through the head of this church to
Mhm.
be
Yeah.
blah blah blah
Right. Right.
um and personally and we're about to get Wes on so we can have two really smart people in this talking about it but I'm just breaking it down to my level
Mhm.
of my understanding. That's been what really drew me in is kind of when Jesus came and flipped all that on its head and was like, no, we're not. What was it like the Pharisees? Like what were the hype? He's like, we're not having to go through all the rules. He's like, they're actually worse than this thief right here,
Mhm.
and really looked at what was in people's hearts, you know.
Right.
And I think that's a beautiful thing. I know it has been for my life. But I'm about so Wes. Now that we got you on, Wesley Huff, historian, linguist, biblical scholar, PhD, and athlete wannabe. I like how you threw that in the bio right there. Um, and Wesley, my man, I think it would be great to. I know you guys were both recently in Egypt. There's tons that I'm interested in. That how all these things show up in Egypt is baffling to me. But just going right to it, I had here Billy, you talk about how Jesus was never crucified, which is interesting because my wife, who's a Muslim, they believe that as well. Their beliefs, from what I understand from her, are they don't think that Jesus, as they believe is a prophet, God would have him killed. But I don't think they have any historical evidence, as far as I know, as to what or how or why they believe that. I'm curious for you guys both, and if you want to, I guess, go first, Billy, as to how you came about like the findings where it seems that Jesus was not
Sure.
crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible is predates the King James version of the Bible, and the the text, there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James version of the Bible, which came much later. Uh, and then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, is a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true, it adds more to the hypothesis that maybe he wasn't crucified. Um, I just personally believe that Jesus was an amazing human being. I don't think that he was the Son of God in the sense that he's God, but that we're all gods. As he said, ye are gods, and that we're to do greater things in him. And I just personally believe that the return of the Christ is the return of the Christ consciousness. When we can all achieve a certain level of knowledge, wisdom, passion, understanding, empathy, love that he came to this planet with, and we get that in our mind and our conscience, and we can act on those incredible emotions and that understanding, that the whole world's going to transform instantaneously. And I think at the second coming is the coming of the Christ consciousness to the planet, not a human being flying back to Earth to save people. That's just my personal understanding of how I've perceived it over many, many years of going through this information and going through all this text.
And Wes, I'm gonna let you respond to that. And again, I mean, this is everyone listening to the show. I'm always like, challenge everything. Learn to critically think and continue to come to your conclusions. Even with Jesus, I'm not personally even waiting on that he has to come back to. I already know like I said, that strength of God and consciousness is already. I can tap into that right now. So you don't have to wait for him to come back. For those that believe he does, to actually have that like next level of what that's supposed to mean. But Wes, go ahead on for what Billy was talking about. I think with a book in the Harvard Museum, and I heard something about Jesus's wife. That's yeah.
Yeah, well, first let me say I think it's really cool to not just be in the room proverbially with you, Billy, but be able to interact with you. Because I wish I could be there in person. Unfortunately, Toronto, Canada is a long way away from Florida. It's a little bit of a jaunt. But I really appreciate the fact that you seem to have investigated to a certain degree some of these facts. Do you mind if I ask a clarifying question?
Sure.
When you say the Sinai Bible, what are you referring to specifically?
It's the biblical text that was written. It made it into you can actually look it up on Amazon. It's a Bible called, I have a version at home. It's called the Sinai Bible, right, from Mount Sinai. I'm assuming that's the mountain that they're referencing there. But they put together their own version of the biblical text prior to the King James Version being put out.
Sure. So when you refer to the Sinai Bible, would you be referring to Codex Sinaiticus? Like the codex that comes... Okay. That's why I was trying to get some clarification. Because, so you can actually go and see... Codex Sinaiticus is at the British Library. So you can go and see it. It's on display. And the British Library has actually digitized the entire manuscript. So I work with manuscripts in my linguistic work. I'm an expert on early Christian scribal culture, and particularly in Greek and Coptic manuscripts. I actually have a facsimile. So I have a photocopy that was done by the British Library of Codex Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I asked for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there, I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27,
Mhm.
where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think
Ca-
my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website with the
Yeah, I'm
viewers or listeners or whatever be able to
for
see
it
that?
right now to make sure I have
What
the right
what
the version that I'm looking at.
while he's pulling that up too, like I keep saying to all the people that aren't scientists traveling the world in linguistics, I don't even know how to pronounce it the right way, like
Yeah,
me.
linguist. Yeah.
Cyanide, I keep thinking of cyanide, like the poison. Cyanide Bible. So is
Right.
that like a version? So from my own knowledge that I know, like when I really studied all this, what I thought was interesting about the Bible was how many like different eyewitness. I studied C.S. Lewis back in the day, how many different eyewitnesses and stuff there were. And they went on purpose to mention so many other names that they were able to like
Hmm.
cross reference throughout history and throughout those times, from my understanding. And those were different things that I always thought were kind of interesting that I felt was a good concept of proof. And then I want Billy to answer, and also I'm just curious, like the Sinai Bible, is that was that where was that
I
piece
found the
discovered?
text where I was referencing. Actually, I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas.
Okay. Yeah. Well, so that's good. So let's deal with that too, because I've actually worked with. There are two manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas. The Gospel of Barnabas is a really interesting document because it is a known forgery. And so that's why I think it's important to get to these sources. So at the very start of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have two copies of, one is in Italian and one is in Spanish. We see right off the bat that the Gospel of Barnabas, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are two apocryphal documents from the 2nd century, but the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery because it does things
Yeah,
like in chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's
testing
journey
one,
away from
two.
Jerusalem, and neither
Testing
Mount
one,
Sinai
two.
nor Jerusalem are close to the Jordan River.
Mm.
So never mind there not being a route from the Jordan River to like around Mount Sinai or going to Jerusalem. But there are internal problems with
What about the
the
game
Gospel of
audio?
Barnabas, which indicate that it shows no actual indication of evidence of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah, which
Huh?
indicates that whoever the author is, he didn't know
Testing
that
one,
those were the
two.
same
Testing one,
words.
two. I like
And
to go
I
to the
think a bigger
movies and
problem
see Lord of
is
the
that the
Rings.
Gospel of Barnabas actually paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314.
Huh?
So
I need to be turned
there's a
up a little
lot of
bit.
internal evidences that disqualify the Gospel of Barnabas, never mind the fact that we don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century,
Dude,
and
what's
none
up,
in any other
Nate? How you doing,
language
buddy?
other than Middle Age Italian Italian.
How you been, dude? I'm good, dude. Good to see you. Wait, what is your name on this guy? On this one, it's like dark blue on my screen. Can't see it. Oh, nice. What are you using that account for?
In Spanish, but the internal content of the Gospel of Barnabas disqualifies it from being ancient. And then the fact that it's doing things like paraphrasing Dante, or it also refers to a rule of the time of Jubilee, which was changed in the Middle Ages from what it was in the biblical year of Jubilee. And it goes with the Middle Ages concept, not the ancient concept. So I think what I'm getting at is, so I'm a historian and I deal with sources. So when I'm looking at sources, I want to make sure that I have a methodology by which I approach any type of source. So if there is something that denies the
Nice.
crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. So if we're talking about, say, Codex Sinaiticus, that's in the 4th century. Now that is, I would agree with you, Billy, our oldest copy of the Bible in the sense of cover to cover, Genesis to Revelation copy of the Bible.
Right.
The problem is that we have individual copies of all 4 Gospels going back hundreds of years before Codex Sinaiticus. So I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. I can just show the screen right here. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John. And it
Is that the
has the
papyrus by
crucifixion.
any chance?
Yeah,
That's
so
where it got
papyrus is just the what it's made out of. So
I got that from
Yeah.
ChatGPT, by the way.
yeah, so
Guys, I'm just
I
trying
can
to sound
actually
smart for a second.
I have that.
Oh, that's
Well,
yeah, so I'll show you this. So the documents you actually see on my bookshelf behind me are facsimile papyri that I've made. So when I was in Egypt last summer, I went and I got made for me some papyrus sheets. And so I take these papyrus sheets, which are made from the papyrus plant, and then when I go and I look at actual manuscripts, so I was at the University of Philadelphia last summer, and I went and I saw a document called P1, which is a 3rd century fragment of the beginning of the Gospel of Matthew. And so what I did is I sat down with that original and I produced a facsimile. So I copied the text. First of all, I cut it out with an X-Acto knife in not the original 3rd century one on my papyrus. I cut out with an X-Acto knife this guy, and then I copied the text transcriptionally on the front and the back. So papyrus is just simply, it's what it's made out of.
Yeah.
And so there's categorizing systems, and the standard one is called
You want
the
me to get
Gregory Alland categorizing system. And so sometimes you'll see when manuscripts are mentioned, they'll have a GA and then a number behind it. If it's made of papyrus, you simply abbreviate the word papyrus to P, and then you have the numbering system. So P66, what I showed you earlier, that's this on the categorizing system. It's the 66th manuscript
Does Annie have anything?
that was put into the system. It's from the Gospel of John. I also have,
Oh, you go potty.
P46 and P47 on my shelf, which includes all 4 Gospels and Acts from the 2nd and 3rd centuries. So
I have it for my chat. Oh, also I'm 15 now and I'm getting taller. You're 5. Jesus, dude. If you're 5'9" at 15, you're definitely gonna hit 6 foot, if not a little taller. Good for you, dude. Ladies are gonna love that.
the only hesitation I have with what you said, Billy, is that we have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just like, it's not that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's a known forgery, that's what I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit and leading up into the New
Well, hold on, because do you mind if I address the Gospel of Jesus' wife?
Sure, go ahead.
What was her name?
Yeah,
I'm like trying to write notes like I know what I'm doing, but I'm just curious.
So the Gospel of Jesus' wife doesn't actually mention. So oftentimes what happens is that the text of the Gospel of Jesus' wife is kind of paralleled with the Gospel of Philip, which mentions that that Jesus would kiss Mary Magdalene on the mouth. And so those are kind of used in parallel to kind of, for this argument, that Jesus was married. So the Gospel of Jesus' wife is in
Yo, what's
Harvard
up,
Library.
Brian? How you doing, man?
Let's
play some SBS. Dude, I'm sorry, I'm playing WoW tonight, man.
Even though the manuscript, the papyrus that it's on,
But I am happy to see you in chat either way, dude.
The text was actually copied from a PDF version of the Gospel of Thomas, known as Grandin's Interlinear, and there was a mistake in the Coptic text of Grandin's Interlinear that was copied into the Gospel of Jesus' wife. So we know that this is not a legitimate document, even though the papyrus is ancient, and this happens a lot with forgeries. I have a couple of friends who have actually worked on projects that have revealed forgeries
Next time.
within.
Yeah, next time
Dead
if
Sea
I'm
Scroll
watching
manuscripts
something, like
and,
before I start
within,
my
other ancient
other game
Christian
session,
papyrus.
I'm down to play
But
some
the reason
Smash,
why we
dude.
know the Gospel of Jesus'
Sorry.
wife,
So if I do Smash right now, I gotta set everything
she
up.
lost a lot of credibility, unfortunately,
pain.
for her. And she's admitted that it's a fake as well.
But I appreciate you coming by and hanging out,
We can
dude.
tie it directly to.
Oh yeah, I got my dad's side.
Not copying from
because
text, but actually copying from an online.
He's the tallest person in his family, and his dad has. Oh damn! So you're gonna be tall, dude. Good for you. That's awesome.
Version of the Gospel of Thomas in a PDF form, and the mistake on that PDF form was copied into the text of that was borrowed in the phraseology.
So that means you gotta hurry.
So
yeah, dude. Because usually when I start the stream, I'm chilling, right?
Sure we're going towards
so
not just early sources.
If you hit me up before that, before I get into a game, I'll definitely
neither
play
the
with
Gospel
you.
of Barnabas nor the Gospel of Jesus' wife are credible sources.
Usually, I don't let people come and deny them twice.
By not just the vast majority of scholarship, but I don't know anybody in the
at least at this point in the stream,
paleography, historiography, who actually refers to these documents as being legitimate.
That's fair enough. I can respect that. So let's go into the Old Testament.
Just to run it.
Predominantly.
Yeah, you know what? I might get sick of playing WoW here in a little bit. We'll see, dude.
A lot of information from the
like I said, I'm pretty tucked in here.
Is a lot of the in Genesis, a lot of the creation story that comes into.
But
Genesis,
I appreciate your excitement to want to play. I do want to play with you
because obviously it's a smaller. Genesis is a much smaller version of a much bigger story, but it's literally almost word for word from the Enuma Elish.
Nate, are you still doing the editing stuff?
The Epic of Atrahasis as well is also there in the Old Testament. Several other tablets as well, Code upon Marabi and a few others have made it into that text. Sumerian cylinder scrolls that talk about the creation story. Again, the creation story in the Epic of Atrahasis. And so we tend
you work somewhere now? Nice. You don't have to tell me about where you're working, but what kind of work are you doing, dude?
Into the biblical text, meaning that my point here is that I think a lot of people are saying that this information was written in real time. A lot of people believe that. If you ask the average person, they really believe that. But a lot of people just copy from older tablets and texts from an earlier
time. Oh, geez, dude. Yeah, you gotta watch for that type of stuff online.
Canonized Bible, but they never reference that they got it from any other ancient texts and tablets that have to do with a totally different civilization with totally different religious beliefs.
Have you read the Enuma Elish?
I've done lectures.
Do you mind? Sure. Do you mind summarizing the content of the creation account in the Enuma Elish for us?
Sure. The Enuma Elish is a very ancient text discovered in the Library of Ashurbanipal, and the summary of it is that it really gives us an account, which is crazy, an astronomical account of the creation of our solar system. It talks about planets and moons gaining specific orbits around the sun. It talks about a huge planet named Tiamat, 46 times larger than Earth. Earth didn't exist at the time that this, according to the author of this text, pretty interesting. And then there talks about a nemesis of sorts. In the original version, it's called Nibiru, but in a more recent version, still thousands of years old, the name was changed to
That's
Marduk.
good, dude. I'm glad you're not working for a weirdo.
The Torah and so forth. Very popular figure in ancient times.
I'm sorry that you ran into that.
In text. Marduk wanted to be the destroyer, so Marduk is the one that during its next orbit towards Tiamat, crashed into Tiamat, destroyed Tiamat. A huge chunk of it swung away, recoalesced, taking the water, land, and organic material, which basically recoalesced as our planet here, Earth. And the rest of it broke up into pieces. Some of it turned into an asteroid belt. The other parts of it were thrown towards the sun, and some were thrown towards the inner orbit, towards the outer edge of the solar system. This planet or this moon that orbited supposedly a brown dwarf, based on the description of it, gained a very strange orbit around our sun. And we have the scientific evidence now also to match with NASA's data, where we see that Saturn and I believe Neptune switch places. Uranus is flipped on its side, and that's more evidence that something came through our solar system in ancient times. And gravitation really tugged at planets here and switched up their orbits and even pulled the axis of a planet on its own side, where the equator is now.
Oh, that's awesome, dude.
So, a little bit of
so you're doing some game development? That's really cool, dude.
But the New Militia also then begins to talk about.
So I bet that's pretty exciting stuff to learn
into the fact that these beings
and be a part of.
Are on Earth, and at some point begin to engage mankind. In other words, they didn't create people from scratch, but they engaged the existing hominid and began to utilize us as workers for their workforce. In the Atrahasis epic, you see a much similar story. Slightly later date period, but still thousands of years old. The epic of Atrahasis, and we see a very similar story, and we see where the sons of God literally came down to Earth. They came from Mars, according to this text, if you read the translation of the planet Mars and to English. And then they went to battle. They were going to go to battle in South Africa against Enki and Lil and Anu. And they come to terms without going to battle. They argued that they needed women, human women, believe it or not. And they also wanted a workforce. They didn't want to continue to do the labor. They were cleaning out the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, digging canals, building cities on Earth, and according to the text on Mars, not according to me. And a decision was made by Enki and Anu and Enlil to allow this experiment to happen, where they would take the existing hominid here. They would slay one of the gods, meaning that they would, in my opinion, that doesn't mean that they're going to kill it, but somehow some type of genetic modification or manipulation, in my personal opinion, my personal hypothesis. But in the end, it ends up being that human beings are now doing a lot of this labor and worshiping these people as gods, as they, my personal opinion, masqueraded as gods. A lot of stories there, parallel stories that you see in the Bible, even the Tower of Babel incident, and many other crazy stories that are in the Bible. You can find a lot of those true stories in the ancient text, like the Epic of Gilgamesh, where you can find the true story of Noah. They found the Noah tablet, giving him instructions on how to build the ark. It wasn't a big boat; it was a round disc that he built with the sections cut up on the inside like a pie. That was discovered about 4 or 5 years ago. I believe it's at the British Museum now. So there's a lot of text that's just been covered and copied over into the biblical text, and I think that, in my personal opinion, a lot of people are just became a cargo cult, worshiping people that were masquerading as gods. I do believe in God, by the way. Let me make this clear. I believe in God. I believe there's a creator of the universe. I believe that the mathematics, the quantum physics, all proves that. The fact that we're here, I believe this universe is imbued with a divine energy and a divine spark that lives inside of all of us. I just don't believe that the God of the Bible is truly the creator of the universe. I don't think that God needs money. I don't think that God needs...
Sure. Do you mind if I just jump in here for a second? Because I think we've kind of gone on from the original question. I appreciate that. I do have a few issues with your summary, although I think I have read the Akkadian version. My Akkadian's not great, but I sat down with a seriologist friend and we walked through it a couple of years ago. So I think that there are components of what you said that I would say are in there. I'm not sure it's the best summary. Nonetheless, okay, going with what you said that there were like verbatim parallels with the biblical creation story. Even just going off of what you said, which I think there are components of that I would agree with, the Battle of the Gods, the concept of Enki and the younger gods, and they fight Tiamat, and then Marduk swears he'll defeat Tiamat, and Quenku who kills Tiamat by shooting her with an arrow, and there's this big battle, and the gods that die end up being the earth and the sky and even us, because we are the end result of that battle.
Dude, I should have used a health pot there. I'm so dumb.
Not just parallels, but there's actual copying. Looking at Genesis chapter 1 and 2, where the creation story is summarized in the Bible, what are the actual kind of parallels there?
See you later, Nate.
You're looking to, because as someone who's read both, I I not only do I not find parallels, I actually, and this is the majority of ancient Near Eastern scholarship with me, think that Genesis chapter 1 is actually an apologetic against documents like the Enuma Elish. So what are the parallels there?
Separated the waters from the waters, for example. That's in the Enuma Elish. That's also in the biblical text.
Okay, that I would agree is a parallel. The only reason I highlight that is that if you're making this the argument, because if you brought it up, and I mean this with all due respect, there are superficial parallels. I would agree. You know, the separation of the water, the concept of the earth being formless and void. That's also in the Enuma Elish. However, I think all the other details, you know, it's the details that make the difference. And if we're looking at not the superficial crossovers, but the actual themes and concepts of what it's saying, you don't have a creation within 7 days. You don't.
I'm going to take the Enuma Elish and put it into the biblical text. There's certain words that they utilize that let me know that they copied it from that text. Like, for example,
So what words?
separating the water from the waters, the void, the earth being void. That information is literally just copied over. So it tells you that somebody saw that and said, let me add it to this book right here. Or let me add
Sure.
it to the scripture or this papyrus. It wasn't a book yet at that time.
So
Was
let
this text discovered that makes it parallel to Genesis? Was this like supposedly discovered prior to? I'm just curious.
It wasn't discovered prior to the Bible, but it dates back long before the Bible was ever written.
Yeah, so let me just say this. So the reason why I say it's actually an apologetic against that is because the purpose of the Enuma Elish, which the Babylonians read every Babylonian New Year, was to point out the fact that the deities, and there's countless deities in the Babylonian pantheon, they actually come from the created order. So they're not outside of time and space. They actually come from the created order. And when they die in this battle, right, when Tiamat is defeated, the defeated gods become the earth and the sky and the plants and even you and me. And in that sense, the theme is that you don't actually have any purpose or end result. And you're not created in the image of God. In fact, in the ancient Babylonian system, only the kings were created in the image of God. And what we see that is counter to that is that even, sure, there's superficial, you know, divided the waters, but we find that in almost every society and culture. That's not a parallel as much as it's just a generality. I would say what we see within the biblical account is that God purposefully creates. There's only one God. He purposefully creates, and then he creates, and it's good. And it continues to say it's good 7 times. And then at the end of chapter 1, for, you know, the thick people in the original audience, it says, and then it was very good. And then he creates humanity, not kings, but simply the humans that he creates in God's image. And they have purpose and meaning, and that instills them with this creation order. And that's not what we find in the Enuma Elish. In fact, we find the opposite in the Enuma Elish, is that the created order is not good. It's a mistake. And that you
I
are
thought
not
all of
created in
them
the
were
image of
off
God.
me.
And there's a reminder that regular people are not created in the image of God. So linguistically, I mean, Hebrew does have Semitic ties with Akkadian. It doesn't with Sumerian. Sumerian is a language isolate, agglutinizing language. But I would say, just with all due respect, the parallels linguistically are not there. There might be superficial kind of concepts that are there, but they're so superficial that we can find them in everything. In the sense of, I'm in an office studio, you're in your office studio. That doesn't mean that, you know, that we're the same people or we're even in the same place. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't agree with that. I just see if I have all these texts out, there's a lot of different information that you can see. There's a lot of it's been copied word for word into the biblical text.
But what's word for word?
In your version of what you believe in, you keep saying that God's a he.
Yep.
And so where do you get that from?
Throughout both the Hebrew Old Testament and the Greek New Testament, you have the masculine singular pronoun used for God.
And why is God a man? Where's the evidence of this?
Well, God isn't a man. See, within historical Christianity, we don't believe that God has a gender. However, the way that he has decided to reveal himself is through the masculine plural, and then ultimately by becoming a human in the person of Jesus Christ. So we don't believe that God has a gender. In fact, the fact that God creates humanity in his image and he creates them male and female, those are two aspects of the image of God. And so that's the completeness. So historical Christianity has never argued that God is gendered. Jesus is gendered in the sense that during the incarnation, he becomes a human man, but he's still fully man and fully God. But God is spirit. And right, as the scripture says, we worship him in spirit and in truth.
And God is
But
the
nobody's
same.
arguing that. What's that? Sorry.
That always blows my mind.
God
too.
is the same all the time, right? He's always good. It's always God is always the same all the time, right?
Yeah, but we do see that in scripture, God has revealed himself
Dude, audio on
through
this video is kind of
the
fucked.
masculine plural. And there are aspects of God's character that we see within scripture that do actually communicate. Jesus says that he longs to gather Israel like a mother hen collects her chicks. So we see aspects of the feminine of God, not meaning that God is feminine, but that the image of God reflects both the masculine and the feminine. And that's why when the two become one flesh, there's a uniting of that reflects the image of God as well within the covenant of marriage.
Do you actually believe that the majority of Christians really believe that God is not masculine, that God has both aspects?
I mean, it's irrelevant what the majority of Christians believe.
How many would
Yeah.
that God's not a man? They never been taught this.
Well, I was taught it growing up. I was taught it in when I was a child, when I went to seminary, when I went to Bible college. I was taught it in graduate school. I would say I would say a few things to that. I would say, in one sense, it's irrelevant what the majority of Christians believe, because what historical biblical Christianity articulates is what they should believe. There are Christians who run around saying all sorts of things that are not in conformity to biblical, historical, Orthodox Christianity. And they shouldn't believe that because it's irrelevant. And so if one Christian believes something that is not in line with biblical Christianity, I mean, that's on them. So God is not gendered, but he does express through inspired scripture the masculine the masculine pronoun.
I mean, for an all-knowing, all-loving God to understand that human beings are going to take that and abuse it, put their boot on the neck of women for eons. Pretty interesting. Also, I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I mean, so hold on. Let me speak to
Wait,
that,
can I
because it
say
is
something
interesting
there real
that.
quick, guys, I have to.
Yeah, sure.
If it was only for the Old Testament, I would have a hard time following a lot of stuff. For me, like what you said, putting the boots on women stuff, it was when Jesus came that when they were literally like, oh, if a woman, you can just accuse a female of having an affair and murder her, and that's like okay. That he was he just reminds me of anyone that basically challenged everything. And people would say that it didn't contradict what's in the Old Testament, but however people were interpreting it, they were believing that they were following the Bible to women can't do this, you stone them if they have an affair or if they're accused of having an affair. And Jesus, as we know, the famous scene when they were about to stone her, he's like, he who hasn't sinned cast the first stone, basically saying no one's perfect. And was the first one that I know of that started like speaking to other tribes and other countries that people weren't supposed to, like, they were so racist and prejudiced. And this is where my heart opened up, is like he stood for this love and this God that broke down all these barriers and just flipped what all the scholars and everything was saying on its head. And that's where I found that I believe that he was crucified, because he went so far like against the grain at the time. And I get what you're saying too, like there's stuff where it's like, oh, convenient, where human beings can add in that this is there and that's not. But something else that I always was curious, I'm like, if especially the New Testament, if it was like written by man and stuff and pre-planned, I'm like, I think they would have done a better job of not making a lot of the people so um like ignorant. The people that were like literally with Jesus question him half the time, like, bro, I don't know if we can do this miracle. And Jesus is like, dude, you just saw me yesterday turn water into wine. And I'm like, if they really, if I was writing a story, I'm like, I want everyone to believe this, I would make the people not like is questionable. It's like they have so many characteristics where the humanity in it is what like always drew me. And like even one thing in the Old Testament that David and Goliath kills Goliath, a man after God's own heart. I'm like, if you're pre-writing this to be the perfect person after God's own heart, then he becomes king. You're gonna like have the story end perfectly, but then he goes off to see, he's watching this lady bathe nude, has an affair with her, has her husband killed. It's like, but then goes on to keep praying to God and coming back to God like with a humanity, and God's like, this is a man after my own heart. And it's like finding all these human flaws is, to me, showed so much of like the beautiful struggle that, and I'm not going off everything you guys are talking about, which is factual stuff. I'm just talking from my own experience of ways where I drew and continue to draw my own conclusions. And I'm much more about my relationship with God personally, with Jesus and God, it's the same, over worshiping the religion, because so many people can, as we all know, that's wars are created, slaves are taken, there's so many horrible things that have been done in the name of religion. And it's sad, and that's where Jesus comes back into the game to me. I'm talking, you guys, to me, to where he was like the one that was like gathering all these people of all these, like, what are you doing? Like, we're supposed to be here helping each other. This is about loving each other and coming together. Like, you're killing them because they eat meat on Tuesday and they don't eat bacon on Sunday, and you're literally like murdering each other. It's so messed up. So I get where people look at different organized religion and stuff, and they're like, this is horrible. Like, on behalf of Christians, I'm like, I'm fully apologetic for, what was it, the Crusades. It's like, in the name of Catholicism, there's so many horrible things that human beings have done. And I'm speaking as someone that I would call myself a Christian, and I'm just letting everyone know that I'm open, critical thinker, and how I've continued to find my own beliefs, because I never sat here ignorantly and was like, nope, throughout history they've all been perfect. It's like, through the Crusades, they went through and committed genocide, rape, some of the most awful stuff, wearing these huge crosses. And I'm like, but God wasn't with them. They said he was, but that's why I also believe in the devil. And I don't believe he's this dude with a pitchfork and a red tail. I think it's more comes, in energy and thoughts, and comes in people, and is like, oh, talks to this guy who's rising in power. You should start conquering that other country in the name of, and do it in the name of God. And then, that's the way I look at things. So anyway, go ahead. I had to just throw in.
Yeah, I mean, there's a really great resource written by a friend of mine, John Dixon. It's a book called Bullies and Saints, where he goes through a lot of the instances of where obviously you're going to find abuses, and every human being is going to find a way to exploit whatever is presented to them. So in one sense, I think we can say, isn't it convenient that God used the masculine plural pronoun, or sorry, the masculine pronoun? I keep saying plural, it's just a mistake. The masculine pronoun. And we can say, oh, sure, that's convenient, maybe, but it is how he has revealed himself to us. And it's not his fault if we abuse that. I mean, we could say, so I grew up in the Middle East. My parents worked in Amman, Jordan. And when I was living in the Middle East, there was a country called the Democratic Republic of Iraq. Now, just because democracy exists and people are going to name things democratic when they obviously aren't, doesn't mean we then judge democracy. I mean, think of the Democratic Republic of North Korea, right? Nobody thinks that that's an actual representation of democracy. So people are always going to abuse terms and ideas and concepts. The difference is, though, I think historically within Judeo-Christianity, you have this ethic that we were talking about before that I think is fundamentally different than what we find in things like the Enuma Elish, the Atrasis, and other things, in that we are created in the image of God. And actually, one of the earliest criticisms of Christianity are by individuals like Celsus, who is a Greco-Roman philosopher in the 2nd century, where he accused Christianity of being foolish, dishonorable, and stupid, and he called it the religion of slaves, women, and children. Why? Not because God used the masculine pronoun for himself and people were abusing that, because the concept that Christians believed in of everybody, no matter what your gender, your race, your social standing, you know, Paul says in Christ there is no slave nor free, there is no Jew nor Gentile, there is no Scythian or barbarian, there's no male nor female. You know, these things united people. And we can see there's a historian named Rodney Stark. And in his book, The Rise of Christianity, he actually says that you can track empirically the agency of women across the ancient world by the movement of Christianity. So that, in other words, whenever an area became populated by Christians, we see a direct correlation with the privileges and treatments of women that expand in time when the surrounding culture largely didn't view women as being fully human. So I think we're always going to have abuses, but if there's one worldview that exists that gives agency to people and says that everybody has worth by nature of being just human, it's the Christian worldview. And that's where I think it's very different. So we can argue about why we think God should or shouldn't have revealed himself in his pronouns, but I think that's actually irrespective of the historical reality that we see within the impact of Christianity, particularly on the West, but around the world, and how it gives agency to the marginalized.
Wes, can I ask you one? So when because I'm always interested in this, like you were raised Christian. I always think about this, like my wife who's Muslim, and our beliefs at the core are so similar, but there's some differences. And I wonder, like, if I was born in Sierra Leone, West Africa, where she was, I know in the Bible says Christ revealed, but C.S. Lewis is someone that I really respect, because I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a think outside the box always, and we should be. No one should just be like sheep and follow what any of us are saying. Like, do your research on your own with everything, of course. But what led you, sorry, going back to C.S. Lewis real quick, he was a famous scholar who was once an atheist, set out on a journey to basically disprove the Bible. As he went to do that, he himself found out that to be like one of the most historically accurate written books, which really shocked him. He then became a Christian after that. He's done the Narnia movies, Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Or they're books, they weren't movies when he passed away. But he has an amazing... I love people like him because he doesn't just act like... He always was questioning everything. He's like, why is there this going? Why are these little kids dying, God, when they're... But something that he continued to come up with, which reminded me so much of Jesus and the love conquers all things too, is when so many people overly get caught up on religion over the relationship. And he's like, I've actually met some atheists that are closer to God without even knowing it. And I've met some Christians that are further away from God without even knowing it. And I believe that too so much. And I'm just really curious, like, as you went on your journey as being like a historian, studying biblical text, and then being raised, you know, of the church, did you take it? I don't want to put what, because I have no, did you take it upon like whatever I continue to discover I'm going to have to accept, like, say something you did find when you were in Egypt revealed differently than what you were taught. You know, like, did you kind of tell yourself, I'm going on a quest, like searching for truth without like a set conclusion to prove Christianity, knowing that it could go either way? Am I making sense?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in a bit of an unusual household in that my mom grew up in India, and my parents, when I was younger, I was born in Pakistan, and I spent a portion of my childhood in Jordan. I grew up in majority Muslim countries and surrounded by majority Muslim environments.
Hmm.
And we had, a copy of the Quran in the room. In fact, we had the Bhagavad Gita and the Book of Mormon, and for a little while, other documents in our house. These were things that my parents, although they never verbally said, these Christianity is true, therefore these are not forbidden. These are not verboten. The truth, capital T truth, of the reality of the world we behold can stand up against scrutiny and investigation. And I did do a great deal of that as a kid. My dad is a historian as well. He has a doctorate, and I grew up on him, reading the rise and fall of the Roman Empire. But at the exact same time, the reason why I actually went to university with full intention of going into the police force,
Oh, wow.
but it was interactions with Muslims and Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses and atheists and accusations against the credibility of the Bible, which actually piqued my interest
Mm.
because they would say things that I said that I thought, if that's true, of course that undermines what I believe. I believe that Jesus is God incarnate. If I can't trust the Gospels as reliable first century eyewitness testimony, then I might as well throw all of this away because I'm not going to believe a lie, even if it's a convenient lie. And so it was actually the exploration of eventually going into graduate college and then now in working on my PhD, the largest secular university in Canada, that got me thinking, okay, how do we investigate these things? What are the methodologies by which we go about to explore the origins and credibility of something like the Bible? And that investigation, with all due respect to Billy and the content that you put out, has actually confirmed what I believe. I'm dealing with the actual manuscripts. I travel to academic institutions, to other countries, and I look at these things and I read them. And it's a privilege to be able to learn languages like Greek and Coptic and Hebrew and Aramaic and dig into these things. And I think ultimately, I really appreciate what you said there, Mark, with your articulation of your personal relationship. And I think that's so important. But I think
Well,
it's also important to remember that that relationship is based on something that's real and verifiable. And we can look into the evidence. I have friends who are linguists, philologists, and historians. And when we look into these things and we talk with one another and we're discussing, we're constantly trying to falsify our theories because that's what good history does. We're looking for the falsification.
Mm.
You don't go in, ideally, if you want to be a good historian,
Right.
with trying to prove your original thesis. You go in and say, okay, what are the avenues that actually could disprove this? And then how do we engage with those in an appropriate and articulate manner? So what I believe is true, but I believe it based on the evidence of the actual documentation. I've read a lot of the literature that you're talking about, Billy, the Enuma Elish, the Atrahasis, the Bhagavad Gita, the Epic of Gilgamesh, and I've read some of them in their original languages because I've tried to be a good historian and go back into the primary sources. Or if I can't, engage with people like my friends who are Assyriologists, who are philologists, and try to not just go off of a translation, but the original. And I think I've found largely the opposite of the conclusions that you have made, Billy. And I know that you are very passionate about what you talk about, and I respect that. I just think that the confidence might not actually be backed up by the reality of the evidence. So when we're looking at something like the Sinai Bible, when we're looking at something like the Gospel of Barnabas, when we're looking at something like the Gospel of Jesus' wife, these are things that
yo,
actually
what's
have
up, TJ?
provenance that we can verify.
How you doing, buddy?
And ultimately, I think the answers to the questions of the legitimacy or the illegitimacy
How
of
have you
those
been?
things point to not just a different conclusion, but actually the opposite conclusion, and that Christianity is true.
Well, Now, I'm glad you said
Yeah,
that.
dude, you were in here the other night.
Those 3 topics are a very small piece of my concept and idea of what really happened in the ancient past. So that's a very small fraction. That's less than 1/10%. You talk about eyewitness accounts to convince you that Christianity is real. There's been eyewitness accounts of every culture that I've visited around this entire planet, and their eyewitness accounts of what they experienced is 100,000%.
What are you up to tonight, man? You playing some games?
People have
Based on what do you mean? Can you give me an example?
the Dogon tribe, for example, in Mali, Africa.
So this guy on the right side of the screen was on Joe Rogan today, and they were talking about a debate this guy had with this guy. So I'm checking that out. You're studying chemistry? Nice. Nice. Are you doing like high school chemistry, or are you like you're actually studying like in college chemistry? High school. Nice, dude. Well, good luck with that. Chemistry is a good class.
Experienced a culture that they claim came to this planet from Sirius B. They have the evidence that they knew these beings were from Sirius B because they have the instruments that show the orbit of a trinary star system that we couldn't discover until the...
This just isn't the greatest thing to watch on Oh yeah, did you guys hear about this stuff? This is pretty interesting.
So Mark Zuckerberg says he's bringing back free speech to Instagram and replacing fact checks with community notes. I gotta start wearing a chain, man. All the cool people are wearing chains now. I got this. This is on the floor. I gotta get all the dust off of it. So, do I look cooler now? All right. Anyway, so let's go ahead. Let's watch it. So basically, this guy right now, he is in a situation where.
Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus. That's a big boy. Man, this shit hard as hell. Don't you have AI nowadays? Make it not so hard. All right, let me swap these.
You know, things are changing a lot.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice.
Yeah.
I gave
This
a
guy's
speech at
definitely a
Georgetown
lizard.
5 years ago about the importance of protecting
No chance
free
he's not.
expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly
It's not like it's you. You were censoring shit like crazy. Like, what do you mean? Don't go and act like, oh, they
Yeah,
made me do it.
you.
You were doing it. Shut up. Shut up. Just be
Exactly.
like, yeah, we did this. It's my bad. I shouldn't have done it, but we did it. Shut up.
political. But there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
I feel like the idea of banning terrorism, I think that's too broad of an idea. I do. Like, so are you going to ban everybody who's like posting positively about like Luigi? Are you going to ban like 9/11 memes, etc.? Like, I don't know.
So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached
a little fucking humble brag. Oh, only 1% of our people are of our users are millions. Yeah, for sure, man. And so, yeah, I think he's right about this. Like about how it definitely damaged a lot of their rep and it was bad for them. But at the same time, like, I just feel like to say that it was like moderation, like people were getting banned off of platforms for just like questioning the COVID narrative. Like even doctors were. So like, I'm not really, the only thing I don't like about Mark saying this is that he's approaching it from a passive perspective, as if this is something that happened to him. This was something you did. You did this.
He's the great, yeah.
Take
He fucked it all
accountability
up.
for you doing it. Be like, yeah, we did this. We shouldn't have done it. My bad. But now we're going to try to make things right.
Too much.
a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship.
True.
The recent elections
right.
also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
He's right. He's right. Yep, 100%.
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First,
Imagine that. Nobody uses your
fact-checkers.
platform, so you have to
Thanks,
change the
fucking
rules.
God. Fact checkers. Holy fuck. See, yeah, get the fact. Oh yeah, this is a fact. Why is it? Because, well, the resources that we use are accurate. That's it. I got Facebook jailed for sharing a Rolling Stones article about Keanu Reeves.
No, I didn't
if
end the
that makes
gameplay.
sense.
It's up in the right-hand
Probably
corner,
just
buddy.
I mean, mistakes happen, right?
Replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy.
It was. They were the ones spreading a lot of the misinformation. Yeah, they're right. That's true. Great point.
We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth.
Lies.
Oh,
You tried to
bullshit.
become the arbiter of truth. Undoubtedly. Look. Every YouTube apology video, you don't have a ukulele, you're not sitting behind your bed, you're not crying, you didn't start the video out like with, this is the hardest video I've ever had to make. Like, the video title isn't I'm sorry. Like,
Yeah,
you need to, like,
no
this
worries.
Guy, what the fuck are you, there's no dog. Like, what is this? What is this? Come on, man.
I do appreciate your excitement,
But the
dude.
fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed.
I'm glad
more
you're such a
trust
big
in the creators,
Smash Brothers
right
fan,
about
man. It's
that.
such a great
especially in the
game,
US.
Absolutely. Hey.
especially in person.
Hey,
Online's a little
He's
sketch.
right. Absolutely. 100%.
So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community.
Yeah, when Mark Zuckerberg says we're sorry, what he means is that
We're
there is
sorry.
an amalgamation of lizards and extraterrestrial, otherworldly, eldritch beings that occupy his body space simultaneously, and he's apologizing on behalf of that group, not on behalf of Facebook.
Note system. Second, We're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse.
Absolutely. W change, 100%. This should have never been like this. You were totally wrong for doing it in the first place. Thank God you're changing it. Massive fucking W. Huge fucking W.
This
What
is
started
big
as a
stuff,
movement to
dude.
be more inclusive has increasingly
No?
been used to shut down opinions
walk out?
and shut out people with different ideas.
We go get a
That's right.
drink.
And it's gone too far.
You are completely right.
That's-
Absolutely 100%.
So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and
Yep.
experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have
Yeah,
filters
it's like an algorithmic filter. It's the same
It's
thing.
snowing here,
And
guys.
like YouTube has this too.
that scanned for any policy violation.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high severity violations. And for lower severity violations,
Well, this is smart, right? I mean, like every single time that somebody gets banned for saying COVID is fake, this is a point of time where moderation time has been like, unless the amount of child sexual abuse material on the website is 0, every ban that's done for a person saying that COVID is fake or gender is binary is actively taking resources away from reducing like legitimate, like let's say death threats or child sex.
All right, let me finish this game and I'll play with you.
I don't have a target.
Brighton, are you still there?
Too far away. First.
Oh my God. Just think you could be living up there. To 69.
out of range. I can't loot that. I don't have a target. I need a target. Need more rage.
Oh, listen to Pineapple Under the Sea. the hell? Why are you thinking you're having to do that? Yeah, but why are you thinking that you're gonna have to let him out? Good to see that you're still there, real pal. Dude, believe it or not, on Twitter we have 56 people watching the stream. 56 bots probably, but 56 more than I usually have. $56 bots go hard, I know, dude. Bye. Good night. Love you. All right, my wife's off the phone. We can watch the video again.
Sexual abuse or something like that. Like there's a direct comparison here. It's not binary. Yeah, no, but that's what I'm saying, right? Is like this is it's a zero-sum environment.
We're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship.
Watching. Yeah,
we're
dude.
also going to tune our content filters to require.
Dude, to be honest, that's what I do when I'm not streaming. I watch the watchers.
The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
I appreciate the honesty there, and I'm surprised that he would say this. This is actually probably the most, this is the best thing that he's said so far, is that he just straight up said, yeah, we're gonna have more bad content on the platform. Yeah, that's what's gonna happen, and it's gonna happen for fucking sure, absolutely.
What do you require?
Fourth,
Yeah, deal with it.
bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to to get feedback that
People never wanted less politics. They wanted less of politics that they disagreed with.
want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California.
Where could they
Embrace the
possibly be
shadow.
going?
Good. Yeah, they're coming to Texas, baby.
No way.
Any content, yeah, dude.
And our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas.
Oh my god.
Texas,
Oh
the
my
new
God.
California, dude.
Man, what a good call. Holy shit. Texas the GOAT? I guess so, man. Holy fucking shit. We are so back. Oh, it is. Texas is gonna go blue. There's actually been cases of that might happen at some point, maybe in like 30 years. Isn't Austin the third gayest city in the US though? No, it's whatever city you're in. I don't know.
As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams.
True. What he's saying is California is full of a bunch of commies, and we're gonna take it over to Texas because they're based and they know what the Constitution really is. That's what he's trying to say. He can't say that, but that's what he's trying to say.
Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world.
And you want to know the real reason why he's probably doing this? It's because Governor Abbott, like Greg Abbott, it's the guy that's in charge of Texas now, has put in a tremendous amount of work and effort to attract tech companies from California to come to Texas. So what he's really saying is that we're going to have to pay less money. This is going to be cheaper for us.
They're
Let's
going
be
after
honest.
American companies and pushing to censor more.
There's a lot of
The
reasons why
US
it's
has
happening.
the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there.
Yeah.
Latin American countries
Want me to listen to that again?
for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there.
That's right. That's right. Yep. That's right. Y'all need to wake the fuck up over there.
America, fuck yeah.
Yep. That's right. Y'all. Well, how y'all let this happen? How you guys let this happen? They're running rules around you. They're telling you can't talk about.
Dude, how
people
did the
going to jail for
liberals
tweets.
let this happen, dude?
What are y'all doing? How y'all let that happen over there? Y'all crazy? Look, quit being pussies.
This headquarters.
They putting us in jail? Maybe we. Is there any oil in Europe?
The
Maybe
fuck is
that
a
could give us-
kilometer?
That could give the government
Yeah.
a reason.
Who
to
cares
avoid-
anymore, dude? It's all gonna be
Is there
miles
oil in
soon.
Europe or not? Send us guns. Maybe that's what we should do. In Norway? Okay, well there we go. We start there. Yep, there. That's smart. So this guy just put all of Europe on notice. I like it.
Latin American countries
Yeah.
have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down.
This is what happened with Twitter, I believe. It was either Twitter or some other website recently with, I think it was Brazil, because there's some guy, maybe Argentina, I forgot which one. There's some asshole guy with a big mustache. I think his name's Maduro. People don't like him. Yeah.
China has censored our apps from even working in the
Venezuela?
country.
Maybe I got confused.
The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's been so difficult over the past.
I actually completely support Mark with this. I totally support him. And I think the United States government does have to put in, like, the fact is that I view, like, if we're not creating the narrative, somebody else's.
Dude, Mark Zuckerberg,
It's not
not
like you
a lizard
cannot
anymore.
create a narrative at all. So
The hell?
I would rather the United States, because this is the country that I live in. And
Mark
it's
Zuckerberg
what I
never
think
a
is the
lizard,
best
actually a
country in the
gamer,
world.
dude.
That's just the way it is. And I'd rather us be creating the narrative. And I don't want to have these countries. And this is another big thing. I'm actually going to make a video about this. I was going to record this yesterday, but I'm a piece of shit. So I didn't. But I'm going to talk about how, so you know how Marvel Rivals has a lot of censorship in the text filters and everything? I think that we're entering into a period where we're going to have a lot of soft censorship and a lot of soft suppression of speech that's created by using international products that are pushed towards an Americanized audience. And I'm really afraid that people are going to accept it and effectively accept totalitarian speech regulation. I'm really afraid of that. Nobody cares? No, see, like, you don't care until it matters. Like, it's something that doesn't matter at all until it means everything.
Last 4 years, when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So, Alex Jones asks the prescient question, what do you think Zuckerberg is really up to? Great question, Alex. Let's talk about it.
There's a massive wildfire in
talk about
California.
The reason
Kaylee
why
just
this
said
is happening
God is actually
because
going to take him
Mark
out,
is
dude.
afraid of these international
Facebook's
companies-
leaving.
Or sorry, his company that is an international company being beholden to regulations from 30 different entities that all have different speech regulations.
She went to
that are
sleep,
trying
you
to
thought?
control
Nah, she didn't
him,
go to sleep.
Summon him to court.
She was on the
sue
phone with her
him,
mom.
Fine his company and cause a bunch of problems. So what he's doing
She
here
needs to go
is he's
shower, she
trying
says.
to leverage this alignment with freedom of speech with like Trump's alignment with freedom of speech. So hopefully Trump's influence can prevent these countries from actively trying to suppress the growth of his website. That's what I think he's trying to do. Now, this is a smart thing that Mark is doing. And the truth is that there's a convergence of goals here and alignment that it's actually in our best interest that he does this. But it's also important to keep in mind that it's not necessarily a change in heart. It's a change in balance sheets. And it's a change in viewership, user base numbers, and shareholder value. That's what's really scary, right? That's what's scary for them, not speech. And that's where I'm at. So it's not general. Yeah, exactly. This isn't like he's had a change of heart. It's all about money. It is. It's a business decision. And I'm going to tell you again. Do you want to know what I think Mark Zuckerberg really thinks? I'm going to show you what Mark Zuckerberg really thinks about the people that use Facebook and a lot of the people on the internet. So Mark Zuckerberg, whenever people asked him why they signed up for Facebook, he said people just submitted their information. I don't know why. They quote, "Trust me, dumb fucks." See, I actually think Mark Zuckerberg is kind of like a relatively normal guy. I bet if you talk to this guy, he could have a conversation about the Roman Empire. He could easily talk about, you know, like how, you know, let's say the Treaty of Versailles led to the rise of Hitler. He could talk about, you know, like what, you know, different video. Yeah, he's not stupid. This guy's not a fucking moron, right? And anyway, yeah, the lizard is full of salt. Yeah, Carthage, great in Rome. Sure, but like my point is, like you said, corporation don't believe. Yeah, but that's the real Mark Zuckerberg. So I think that he never cared about the moderation. He only did the moderation back then. Why do you think he went to Congress 4 years ago asking them to help him censor the internet? Because he thought that's where the wind was blowing. Mark Zuckerberg is an extremely intelligent, extremely opportunistic, very business-minded person. This is not a stupid person, but he is, above all things, a survivor. So when the tides were blowing towards censorship, that's where his sails were pointed. Now they're pointed towards freedom of speech, and the boat's turning around. That's the way it is. And whether you think this is a good thing or not, or whatever, he's opportunistic. He is, right? The fact is that it's in what I believe to be my best interest what he's doing. So I'm happy that he's doing this. I recognize that it is not necessarily for some sort of ideological reason, which I would hope it would be for, but ultimately I agree with the goal. So that's it. You have to be opportunistic in business. I'm not saying that it's bad. I'm not saying he's a bad person. I think he's totally fine. I don't hate Mark Zuckerberg. All I'm trying to say is that the reason that he's doing this is not ideologically driven. It is driven by a concern of survivorship. That is what it is. It's what it was 4 years ago. It's what it is now. None of these companies actually care. I don't think any of the people that are running any of these social media companies, whether it be Twitch, whether it be YouTube, whether it be Twitter or Facebook or Instagram, none of them really care about censorship at all. They don't want to deal with it, because if you look at it abstractly, what is censorship for a social media company? It's work. They don't want to have extra work. So if they could just let people post whatever the fuck they wanted, they would do that. So the only reason why they don't do that is that they're worried about losing either advertisers or getting fined money. That's it. And so he also had he not gone along with the censorship bullshit, he was going to get sued into oblivion in Europe and parts of the U.S. Exactly. And that's why he's trying to ask Trump to help him. Because now Trump can potentially prevent him from getting sued or stop bad things from happening to his company if he aligns his values with Trump's values. This is a very good decision by Mark, and it coincidentally helps everybody else. So yeah, that's the way that I see it. What do you guys think? Do you think Elon does or the same as Mark? I think everybody is opportunistic to an extent, but you'd have to look at each individual circumstance. So yeah. Facebook is also at saturation rate, and he needs to help break the stagnation. Yeah, that's also a really good point. I feel my teeth grating as I thumbs this up. Hey, there are always going to be cases where you find yourself aligned with people that you don't normally agree with in order to achieve a common goal. That is something that's called being an adult. That's called being a normal person. And that's also called winning. You're never going to win if you impose endless purity tests on people to constantly test them to make sure that you align with them 100% rather than only 98%. That's the truth. A total fucker. Yeah. Yeah, that's a W take. Most people would agree, but keep in mind it's kind of funny when Elon buys X and all the people hate him, but somehow I feel like this video will get a warm reception. Well, of course it will. Yeah, people just don't like Elon Musk for a lot of other reasons, too. He's literally calling out Californians as biased lefties. Yeah, exactly. You can hate Elon as much as you want, but without him, this wouldn't have happened. That's true. That's exactly true. I think if Elon Musk never bought Twitter, none of this would have happened. I think it actually was the domino. It was the domino that started all of this. Meta's chief policy man? Really? Let me see if I can find this. Fox News interview Meta.
We're eliminating the third-party fact-checking system.
This is from today.
Well-intentioned at the outset, but there's just been too much political bias in what they choose to fact-check and how, so we're just scrapping it entirely.
What do you mean? You mean you?
The fact-checkers.
You set up your, but they're yours.
Well, they're,
right?
so...
Absolutely based question. What do you mean they're your guys?
The idea was they're independent fact checkers, but they've just been too biased. And so what we're going to do instead is adopt a system like X has of community notes. So we're just going to rely on our own community of users to provide people more information.
And another reason why this is happening is because it's probably a lot cheaper to have community notes than have fact checkers. So, like, with all of these policy changes that they're making, there's a converging business advantage to doing it as well.
They're seeing. There's no question that the things that happen at Meta are coming from Mark, but there's also no question that there has been a change over the last 4 years. We saw a lot of societal and political pressure all in the direction of more content moderation, more censorship.
He's right.
And we've got a real opportunity now. We've got a new administration and a new president coming in who are big defenders of free expression, and that makes a difference.
You don't know about that. But, like, you know, right. I mean, and it also, I think it's telling that they did this interview on Fox, too. So this is the actual interview. It happened, I guess, maybe a few hours ago. Let's watch it.
All right, buckle up. We got a Fox News alert moments ago. Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, announcing they are changing their policies to focus on free speech. CEO Mark Zuckerberg saying this.
We're going to get back to our roots so we can focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US.
Wow, this is a big deal. Changes include ending its third-party fact-checking program and lifting restrictions on topics such as immigration and gender identity.
Wow, is there anything...
Huge W. Every single one of these changes is a huge positive.
Excuse me.
Absolutely self-serving, totally for a business reason, but in my best interest as well, so I'll take a W.
More important to talk about. Also, until now, Meta used automated systems to scan for violations.
For a long time, you couldn't even question any type of transgender stuff at all. You couldn't. And the problem is that a lot of people don't believe in it. Like, I don't really care, personally. It's not really a big issue for me. I just try to be respectful of people regardless of, like, what they say they are. So it's not a big problem for me. But for many other people, they really don't like it. Don't you think these policies will open a dangerous door for AI fake content? No.
And they resulted in too much censorship.
Not a door that's already been opened.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick, boys. I'll be right back. Ugh. Sophie, go to bed. Oh man. I'm back. Yeah. Yeah.
Severe violations like terrorism, fraud, to name a few. And joining
Are you
us
good?
right now to name one, Fox and Friends
This is the
exclusive
guy.
Meta's Chief Global Affairs Officer, Joel Kaplan, joins us live here on the couch. Joel, welcome.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you,
Great
Joel.
to be here on the couch at Fox and Friends.
It's great
Glad
to have
you're
you.
here.
Okay, so you were announcing these big changes as of 2 minutes ago.
Yeah.
2 minutes.
If you're making big changes, does that mean you were doing something wrong before?
Look, this is a great opportunity for us to reset the balance in favor of free
Yes.
expression. As Mark says in that video,
Yes, we were doing something wrong before, and we're going to stop doing it because we're worried that it's going to make us less money. Great question.
we're doing today is we're getting back to our roots in free expression. There's a number of changes we're making, but if I could, and just highlight three.
Yep.
First is, as you heard, we're eliminating the third-party fact-checking system.
That's money.
Well-intentioned at the outset, but there's just been too much political bias
right.
in what they choose to fact-check
they're
and
from
how,
California.
so we're just scrapping
When
it
you said
entirely.
they, what do you mean? You mean you?
The fact-checkers.
You set up your...
I really appreciate, like, I think Fox News is just as bullshit as the most liberal person in this chat, okay? But I really got to say that I appreciate them asking these questions. What do you mean they? What do you mean those people? You mean you people? Yeah, but, right? Yeah.
But they're yours.
Well,
fact-checkers,
they're
right?
so the idea was they're independent
well,
fact checkers, but they've just been too biased. And so what we're going to do instead is adopt a system like X has of community notes. So we're just going to rely on our own community of users to provide people more information about what they're seeing, and we think that's going to work
So
great.
give us an example. If we said, if the headline is Donald Trump won the presidency, then anyone in the community can write notes underneath it?
Yeah, great question.
No, that's not how it works. Like, what do you have a computer?
And so somebody can write a note, and then the way it works is different
Other people
different
review
people
and
on the
agree on
platform
it.
can sort of vote on that note.
Yeah,
And if
exactly.
you get people who usually disagree, who all say, "Yeah, that sounds right," then that note gets put on the post, and people see it. X has been doing it for a while.
This is
we think
actually-
it's working really well, and we're going to adopt that.
Yeah, because it does work really well. And I think that that type of an algorithmic decision making is a very good one. Basically, if people that are super liberal and people that are super conservative agree that sharks are dangerous, then maybe sharks are in fact dangerous. That's it. Yeah, copying X. Yeah, because, well, yeah, because they're the ones that are,
Is it time?
I feel like they're the ones that are the most cutting edge. There's a reason why Biden announced that he was resigning from the presidency on Twitter and not Facebook.
So, and what are the other ones? I know you want to go.
Yeah, thank you. So the second one is about the rules that govern content on our platform. They've just become too restrictive over time about what people can say, including about those kind of sensitive topics that you mentioned that people want to discuss and debate: immigration, trans issues, gender.
Yeah. Oh, he just
we
says
want
it.
to make it so that, bottom line, if you can say it on TV, you can say it on the floor of Congress, you certainly ought to be able to say it on Facebook and Instagram.
They're eating the cats and dogs.
Without fear of censorship. So we're changing those rules. And then the last thing, if I could, we're also going to change how we enforce the rules. And we're going to make it so that there's way less over-enforcement and way fewer mistakes that actually make up the vast majority of censorship that people experience on our platforms. So big changes, all in service of getting us back to our values of free expression.
So, Joe, I guess the big question is where are the changes coming from? Because, I mean, it's hard not to notice there's been a change in Mark Zuckerberg. You've seen him as, you know,
He's
respectfully, the nerdy kid, change over to the jujitsu. He's put on some lean muscle.
He's so right. He's so fucking right. Absolutely. 100%.
Right, and who do you main and smash, dude? Who's your favorite character?
He's taking a meeting with Trump, taking a different stance.
The reason why it happened is that somebody in chat said it. He stopped taking estrogen and he started taking testosterone, and so now he cares about jujitsu, freedom of speech, and exercise. So yeah, that's the reason why.
On certain things. Are these changes coming from him or from what the public is saying?
There's no question that the things that happen at Meta are coming from Mark, but there's also no question that there has been a change over the last 4 years. We saw a lot of societal and political pressure all in the direction of more content moderation, more censorship, and we've got to realize.
I think this guy needs a raise. He's an S-tier bullshitter. He is. This guy's really good. I can tell when somebody's a bullshitter because I don't know why, but this guy's really good at doing it. That's his job. Yeah, this guy needs a bonus for this.
Opportunity now. We've got a new administration and a new president coming in who are big defenders of free expression.
Yeah.
And that makes a difference.
Used to main Kazuya, but
is that when you have
I'm testing my combos and I'm mad rusty. Dude, I love Kazuya, but I play Ken.
That don't even have the protections of the First Amendment to really put
you may
pressure
already
on
know
US
that.
companies. We're going to work with President Trump to push back on that kind of thing around the world.
So, Joel, why now? I know you said it's a change, but did you feel restricted over the last 4 years? And this is the first time it's in your business interest to express.
It's in your. Thank you.
What do you require?
Thank you.
Quest for freedom?
Well, there's no question that there's an opportunity here with a new president taking office, as I said, who really believes in free expression, and that's just going to give us.
This guy, as I said, this dude needs a raise.
I'm listening.
Professional level bullshit, absolutely.
The space to get back to those values that Mark has talked about for a long. Mark gave a big speech 6 years ago at Georgetown about free expression, about these values. Unfortunately, there's been a lot of political and societal pressure here and around the world that have pushed away from those values. We've got a real opportunity to reset, get back to them, and really provide a space.
How
for
was
free
the
expression.
Biden administration putting pressure on you specifically? Were they calling where they didn't like a post?
He's not going to say that.
What did they say? Take it down?
Yeah, so Mark talked about this in a letter he sent to the House Judiciary Committee a few months ago. That sort of outlined the way in which we got a lot of pressure around COVID in particular to take down more content, even things like
COVID was that was the straw that broke the camel's back.
What do you require?
Yep. Humor and satire about the pandemic.
No
about
jokes.
Vaccines.
It's not funny.
We did experience that kind of pressure. The decisions we made ultimately were our own, but there's a real opportunity here with President Trump coming into office with his commitment to free expression for us to get back to those values and really provide space for people to have the kind of discourse and debate they want to have.
Would you do what X did, and that is unleash independent journalists like Matt Taibbi, Ari Weiss, and Michael Schellenberg onto forensically go through what you guys are actually repressing, shielding, shadow banning over the last few years? Wouldn't that be part of this cleansing process?
So we've had an opportunity to do a lot of that with the House Judiciary Committee and Chairman Jordan over the last few months and years, and he put out a really thorough report.
You made a hero? Oh, nice. And Joker. Joker's so fun, dude.
Honestly, we're pretty focused on.
I think that it would be good for the trust of the public for them to release the amount of ways and the types of ways that the government put pressure on them to censor things. Because for me, I'm talking this is my personal opinion, right? For me, it would dramatically change the way that I would view their censorship if you shifted from, instead of they were censoring, that they had the White House that was putting their thumb on them to do it. Because I wouldn't really blame them if the government was pressuring them to censor, because the government's the fucking government and they're probably afraid of the government. Straight up, the White House, it's still censorship. Yeah, but it's censorship with a gun to your head. Of course it's reasonable. Of course they're gonna do that. So capitalism should be regulated? Capitalism is regulated. What are you retarded? It is. That's why we have. That's what regulations are. That's what laws are. Anyway, so
Shit fucking ended.
what's this chain? I thought I would wear it because Mark Zuckerberg was wearing a chain, and I was gonna wear it for like a little while and see if it increased my aura or not, or if I felt cooler wearing it. If I wanted to, like, I was thinking maybe if I wear the chain for an hour, I'll learn jujitsu.
Okay.
The future and the opportunity we have right now with the changes we're making today to really open up the space for debate and expression.
Is the idea to get out of politics totally and focus on just the enterprise of the free market, people debating things, or is it for Mark Zuckerberg
and
to
Luigi
become like
too?
Elon Musk and be
Luigi's cool,
influential
man.
as well, work with the next
Great question.
administration, or a little bit of both? I don't know.
It's obviously
well,
both.
Mark's always going to be Mark Zuckerberg.
He's always both.
But I think there is a real opportunity to work with the new administration, both on free expression, but also on American leadership in technology and innovation. This is something we've seen President Trump is really focused on, making sure that we maintain U.S. competitiveness and leadership on technology, things like AI. Those are obviously super important to our company and our industry, and we'll look forward to working with the new administration to advance those goals.
Right. And Joel, when you talk about content moderation, I think a lot of people watching right now.
That's also another good point, is that the reason that a lot of these companies are probably trying to all vie for control over AI is that there are a lot of laws and like privacy things, especially that like are kind of, it feels like it's pretty obvious they're being broken by like using these large language models to like test and use everybody's data on the internet. And so they want to be on the good side of the government, because like you can't, like, suing somebody, like if you sue Facebook for $1 billion and you win, the person who makes Facebook pay that money is the government. So it's really like you can't sue anybody if you don't have a government. So if the government's on their side, you're going to lose.
Well, you know, it sounds better if they're not taking instructions from the federal government, the Joe Biden administration, saying, hey, this is wrong, take that down. So people like the idea that they're going to have a say, where you can add the community notes going forward. But ultimately, is this one of the things you're doing as a company to make sure that Meta and the other social media companies aren't regulated by Washington? Because that's the last thing you guys want.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think when it comes to expression, especially in the United States, we got a long tradition of the First Amendment, and we think that the right thing is for individual users to have the ability to decide themselves what to say. Look, there's bad stuff that people do online, like they do in the real world, and we want to make sure we don't have that. So we're still going to be enforcing against terrorism and drug sales and child sexual exploitation, things that everybody agrees have no business being on our
What about
platform.
bullying? Although
Need to get closer.
Yeah, everybody agrees that's bad. I feel like enforcing terrorism, that one's a little bit scary to me. I'll be honest, I think it's a bit scary. Because I don't know, like, where do you draw that line? But the other ones, I think, yeah, obviously makes sense. Well, what about bullying? Yeah, okay, well, no. This is an S-tier Karen question.
young little girls, I remember Mark, remember he was on the Hill and he had to he was kind enough to turn around and apologize to the families, but all those families have lost their kids from bullying. I have a 9-year-old, so I'm starting to get concerned because eventually when she's in high school or even after,
if your kid kills himself because of bullying on social media, you've probably also failed as a parent. I'm sick of these shitty parents blaming websites for the fact that they can't take care of their kids. It's pathetic. Now, he can't say this, right?
All right, boys, a little break.
This on national
I'll be here, but
this is an
warm-ups hits
emotional
first.
blackmail question.
Or
It
Kaylee
is.
hits
It's
it
a
in.
total emotional blackmail question where it's like, well,
Can we
what
play
about
now?
bullying? See,
You
there's
know
little
what?
girls that are killing themselves.
Yes,
because
we
of
can
this.
play now.
Like, are you
Let me
gonna
give me
you want
about
little girls to die?
15, 20
Well,
minutes.
the answer is that,
And
if you're a
I will be
little
able to
girl,
play.
maybe you shouldn't be on the website in the first place. Get the fuck off the website. Total massive emotional manipulation. That's a horrible take. I know, and sometimes horrible things are true.
Let me finish this quest.
faced with these situations. So what do you say to those families?
Yeah, well, I'm a parent of 2 teenagers.
Gosh,
so,
you're in it.
Yeah, I'm in it. So, these are issues that I take really seriously, and that
Shit, I'm dead.
a lot of my colleagues who are also parents at Meta, and those who aren't parents take really seriously. We got to make sure teens are protected online. We launched a few months ago a product called Teen Accounts that really puts parents in the driver's seat and makes.
I'm gonna be honest. Absolutely, this guy needs 2 raises. Yeah, at least. This is professional.
So that they can see what their kids can see and do online, who can contact them.
Yes.
We put kids in sort of built-in.
My take, if you are an underage person on social media, you should not be allowed peer-to-peer messaging to any other user. Period.
Default settings, the most protective settings we have, and then if you're under 16,
oh, sorry, and you should also not be allowed to interact with any post and post anything on it. Friends? No, because then pedos can get you to add them to your friends, and then they get in through that. No. Like, I'm just gonna say it. Like, let's
My
just
sword
say
is
it.
broken.
That's what it is.
change those settings on Instagram without your parents' permission. We think that's a really good innovation and something we're hopeful it's an area
How do
where
we do
Congress
that
can act.
setting? How do the parents find that setting on the phone before they give it to their child?
Yeah, well, so we'll send notifications basically to the parents to let them know that this opportunity exists, and the kid can't sign up for Facebook or excuse me for Instagram without being put into a teen account, and then their parent gets a notice and says, hey, your kid's trying to sign up, and if you want to change any of the settings, you can do it here.
So, Joe, what you got to do is reestablish trust. I mean, people remember the Zuckerbugs into those key areas in 2020 that were deciding.
How do you verify? The thing is that if you want to verify and actually keep minors off of social media, you effectively can't do that without at least a third party or a direct real ID system, the same as South Korea has. There is no other solution to that problem that I can at least think of. Maybe I'm not creative enough to think of it, but I think that also just making it against the rules is a really good first step. And I think that also, like, if you want to talk about legislation or laws or something like that, that's something different. But I'm talking about it should be against the rules, period. And that way it would, like, making something against the rules doesn't make it stop happening, but it makes it happen less. I'll never accept real ID. I'm very torn on the issue. I'm on your side of the fence, though. But I think real ID would be good for a lot of things as well.
What state, what candidate was going to win what state. And one of the reasons you're trying to do that is, number one, making this announcement here. The other thing is changing your board to let people know, maybe by the people that you're hiring, that you asked to join, that their agenda doesn't match.
They're not going to change the board of directors of the company. This is a ridiculous thing to even ask.
The 2020 agenda, what have you done?
Well, we made a big announcement yesterday, put 3 new board members on, great board members, including Dana White, the president and CEO.
You know what? Maybe I'm stupid. Maybe actually that was a good question, because that's a good point. Yeah, Dana White came on as their board. Yeah, no, actually, no. Yeah, I totally forgot about that. Bro,
An
what?
interesting
Yeah,
thing.
they actually did change it. Holy shit. Yeah, I mean, obviously the guy asked that question like, they knew that Dana White was coming on, and so they're asking that question to lead into that part of the conversation. It's just, good interviewer attack, like, it's professionals. But yeah, Dana White is coming on to the board of directors for Meta. Massive.
Of UFC, guy's a legend, an incredible businessman, incredible entrepreneur, marketing genius. Super excited to have him, a couple other great board members with real deep business experience that we put on the board. So those are important voices. Mark has always been great about getting different perspectives so that we sort of cover the waterfront of ideas and perspectives that we want to make sure are getting fed into the process.
Joe, is this, can you tell the audience and the world that this is not a temporary stance? And what I mean by is this just because you got Donald Trump in there?
It's absolutely a temporary stance. And if in 8 years things become even more censor-friendly or censorial than they were in COVID, Meta will shift back to that. Because they don't have any actual values. They're a company that they move where the public moves. Like, they can't write a blank check on the future. I mean, and also they shouldn't, right? You can't do that.
4 years. Are you guys going to continue this after his presidency, or is this just a temporary thing for the moment?
How can they possibly know that?
This is an opportunity for us to get back to the values that Mark founded the company on. This runs deep for Mark. It's a great opportunity to rebalance and to get back to free expression.
Right. When you say rebalance, you know, historically, the big tech companies and social media companies have leaned to the left. You know that. Is this dragging it closer to the center? I mean, with Dana White, obviously a Trump ally, as part of the board, is the company becoming more central rather than leaning to one side or the other?
I think the way to look at it is we're a platform for all people and all ideas.
I know, but some people don't feel that certain, and haven't felt historically, that certain social media companies were hospitable to their points of view.
No question, and that's what I meant by
obviously.
rebalance. We want to make sure that they understand that their views are welcome, and that we're providing a space for them to come onto our platforms, engage, express themselves, engage in the important issues of the day, or not in the important issues of the day, and just whatever it is they want to talk about and share. And so we need to make sure they feel welcome. We need to make sure we rebuild trust, and that's a big part of what we're doing today.
So also, there's something else could be in front of the Supreme Court, and that's future of TikTok, China controlled. So you're an American company, you decide to make this announcement. How does this relate to what TikTok could possibly do?
So I think that these guys really kind of undercut their credibility when they say that TikTok is China controlled, when the fact is that the company that owns TikTok is actually in Singapore, but part of the ownership of that company in Singapore is partially owned by a company in China. And every company in China needs to have a representative of the CCP at the company. So, like, it's not really owned by China, but there's an underlying presence of China in TikTok. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. So like, and maybe they're just saying this for brevity, but I find it to be misleading. Indirectly controlled by China? Well, they're not the only shareholder there, right? With, I think it's called ByteDance. So wrong on this one? Really? Because I'm fairly certain that that's what happened.
Look, we like competition. We think it makes us better. I know there are concerns that Congress has expressed and that the president and Congress and the courts are working through with TikTok. We're going to stay focused on what we're doing and how we make our platform as open and welcoming a place as possible for all points of view.
You think it should be banned?
Well, that's something I'm going to leave to the president and the courts.
Yeah, he's not going to say that. By the way, TikTok should not be banned. It's ridiculous.
Congress, we're focused on what we can do to make our platforms the best they can be.
If Elon Musk didn't buy X and expose what he exposed and put community notes like this, do you think we'd be in the... What did he, in buying this and doing what he did, do for the introspection that Facebook is showing right now?
I think Elon's played an incredibly important role in moving the debate and getting people refocused on free expression, and that's been really constructive and productive. And
it's undeniable. If Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter, this wouldn't be happening. I don't think that you can see it any other way.
Ellie, move.
I think that it's less likely that Trump would have won the presidency if Elon Musk didn't buy Twitter. It definitely moved the needle. Now, did it take it over the threshold? Hard to say, impossible to say, but it absolutely was an advantage.
Annie, lay down. Annie,
yeah, TikTok
lay
is
down.
cultural cancer, in my opinion. You see, like, I understand that a lot of people really don't like TikTok, but the way that the TikTok algorithm works is identical to the way that the YouTube Shorts and the Instagram Reels algorithm works. They feed you the same content. It's basically all the same stuff. So why are these other two okay, but TikTok is universally bad?
We're just glad that we've got the opportunity now to make these kind of changes and to get back to our roots in free expression.
Maybe all social media companies can learn a lot from this because y'all were the original. You know, Mark was one of the originals at least. And so y'all have had to see all the changes and what works and what doesn't work and what Americans really want. So thank you for your honesty. Thank you for doing this for children and all your customers.
Australia has banned social media up until you're 16 years old.
Good decision.
How do you feel about that?
We think the right way to do it is to trust parents. That's what we're doing with the teen accounts that I mentioned.
The reality is that his answer is the only realistic solution other than Real ID and removing anonymity from the internet. And if you're a parent and you can't control what your kid is doing, this is also another viewpoint I have. I don't want to have the entire world contrived, and like, I don't want to lose freedom and privacy because some parents are bad. That's not worth it to me. So, like, if your kid is going on social media and doing things they shouldn't be doing, maybe that's nobody else's fault except for your own. That's it, right? It's like if your kid gets in, like, this is a good, I don't know if this is a good example, but like, so like if you're falling asleep and your kid is getting in your car and driving around and joyriding, and then they accidentally run somebody over or crash the car into McDonald's, we're not going to go to Toyota or Ford and say, how did you let this happen? You need to fix your cars. You're going to go to the parent and say, what the fuck are you doing? Let your kid drive the car around. Because that's the parent's responsibility. I don't think kids should be on social media, but you can only really stop it at the parental level. Do you think people should be forced to bring ID with them when they go out? I don't know, but like, that's not really what we're talking about.
And you know, obviously we've got to work with governments and follow the laws that they pass. But I think there's a better way, and that's to put parents in charge. They know what's best for their teens and their kids, and that's what we're trying to do.
What's your biggest customer? What age group?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, we've got 3.2 billion people using our services, so we really have people across
65
all
plus.
ages.
I know.
And we want to make sure we're serving them all.
Yeah, 79.
And letting them express themselves in a way, especially with teens, where they're still kept safe.
Did you talk to David Sachs about this, who's going to be coming in as the AI? AI czar?
We've talked to David.
AI czar?
We're really excited about about that post. We think he's going to do great things. He really understands the industry. He really understands crypto and AI, and we can't wait to start working with him.
Well, Joel, thank you very much for stopping by the couch and making the big announcement today.
Hopefully you'll come back as well.
Absolutely. Thank you all for having me.
A fair and balanced social media world.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Nice
you.
to meet you.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm going to be honest. I think this was really good. I think they did a great job with this. I thought it was going to be bullshit. It wasn't. This was actually a really good interview, and they asked real questions. Yeah, that was actually really, really good. I was very surprised.
7 years ago, I covered a disturbing trend known as YouTube ElsaGate. And yes, that is 7 years ago, ladies and gentlemen. Back in November 17, 2017, I made a video where I talked about the ElsaGate situation. And for anybody that doesn't remember what ElsaGate used to be, ElsaGate was a time on YouTube where characters like Spider-Man, Elsa from, the Frozen movies, and several popular Disney characters were effectively being, showcased to children in some of the most adult-type settings, okay? We're talking about pregnancies, we're talking about wild fart fetishes. In fact, it wasn't just relegated to YouTube, it could have been any social media service. There were even plenty of games where I had to actually deliver a baby from a Disney character, okay? It was just complete insanity. You had situations where, again, Elsa's running away with a dog, and a cop's got a Glock pointed right at her head. With 6.9 million views delivered to it, you could imagine that this was one of the most popular eras of content farming little children one could ever imagine. Now, because of how popular this ended up getting and how much mainstream attention it ended up evolving, YouTube decided to change its actual community guidelines towards this kind of content. Now, if you actually look at YouTube's community guidelines today, mature content aimed towards kids, okay? Themes that are mostly associated with teens or adult audiences such as nudity, sex, realistic violence, drugs, alcohol, or profanity in the video, thumbnail, or title. I want to remind people watching this video, okay? When it comes to YouTube, there is a profanity budget, which all creators have. If you ever have noticed that in videos, like, I don't let other people say the F word, but I do, it's because I know that I have an allotted budget of swear words. And if anybody's going to swear on my channel, it's gonna be me. And the reality of it is, if you swear too much, YouTube will sometimes demonetize your video, or in the most extreme ends, actually put your video into an age restriction.
Yep.
Which again, severely
What's up, Brandon?
diminishes its reach, and oftentimes can be a little more excessive, in my opinion, than not. But when it came to content like this, these guys were just allowed to fucking send this shit out to kids all day, every day. Until, of course, YouTube decided to say content that is made to appear appropriate for kids and families, but contains adult themes.
All right,
And of
here's
course, the
the
point they added was other depictions
there's the
of kids
code.
or popular kids characters that are unsuitable for kids and families. Now, you might be wondering, oh, well, YouTube fixed it right there. It's going to be just fine. Now, of course, if you're on platforms like YouTube now, you'll realize that, no, it's not
Is
the
that
same.
you?
Because as of a day ago, I'm looking at channels where Sprunky is joining people in bed. Sprunky is pregnant, stepping on what I assume to be yellow supersonic. Oh no, we found Sprunky in the bathroom. Oh God, incredible sad story in real life. What is the sad story? Well, it might be that Sprunky is a little more preggers than one would think. Now, it didn't really obviously get any better, ladies and gentlemen. This is a theme of content that is still actually alive and active. Now, for anybody that doesn't know, this is what we call a YouTube
Wait, is this you,
content farm,
Brian?
which again are people rapidly uploading this kind of like brain rot material for, again, complete financial gain. And usually when it comes to children, they'll find something that is incredibly popular and effectively run it into the ground. Now, if you don't know what a Sprunky is, congratulations.
No,
join the
that's not
club.
you.
I had no idea at all either. All I know about Sprunky is that Sprunky used to be this one. Now, if you don't know what Sprunky is, welcome to the club, ladies and gentlemen. I am 30 years old. We'll be turning 31 this year. I have no fucking clue what Sprunky is until, of course, research for this video. And it led me to a few games on the platform where one could play known as Sprunky Incredibox, okay, where you could just generate music with, again, you know,
Okay, here's the
random
password.
icons and
There's
random
no
materials.
password.
It's a game for actual children.
Just the ideas
That's
right there.
all that it really is. And there's a era of, again, phase 5, like horror theater games, where, again, it's music creation with this vibrant, it's all just AI slop, so to speak, this AI level of description. Again, you can turn this material into horror if you wanted. Kind of like a creepypasta, if you will. You know, a little bit of horror added to these children materials, children games. But they are ultimately just for kids. Now, the person that I believe actually created this entire project was a person known as Nyanko BF Lol. Now, this person is a 15-year-old Thai child, okay, a literal kid made this actual mod. And it got so much popularity that it ended up actually ruining the fun for this child. For instance, a month ago, he actually said, I have a
still
secret
can't find
that
it?
I've been keeping for a while. But after getting hacked, I noticed it's a bit too late. But let me say this, Sprunky 2, which this was already getting a sequel for, has been canceled the whole time. The situation was bad enough, messed up content farms, overpopularity, and what idiots called Sprunky ripoff. I just haven't told you yet because of the stupidest reason. And that reason
The
was
arena
a
ID is
Basically supposed to be a
LVDMV.
meme game, but at some
And it's
point
also
in game,
right
you get a
here
video about the cancellation of Sprunky.
on the
Point
screen.
is, Sprunky was effectively canceled because this kid realized just what level of brain rot that he unwittingly unleashed into the world. Not to their fault. This is literally a project created by an ambitious child animator ruined completely by fucking YouTube content farms. So one of the biggest content farms that I've seen floating around is Amy Hi Hi. Now you might be like, it's 40,000 subscribers, Mood. It's probably
Bro,
not
you
as
watching
big as you can
alt?
imagine, but they've been growing pretty substantially. Now, don't
Did I
take the
click on
join date
alt?
by any imagination. This is not a
Yeah,
2019
dude.
account. If
Come
you
in
look
here
at
and
some
play
of the
with us.
oldest videos, 2 months ago is when they actually
The
started posting
code's right
these
there.
Sonic and Amy videos. Now, if you're looking at some of these thumbnails, ladies and gentlemen, this is obviously geared towards children, but clearly you can see Amy is getting stuck. Sonic is chasing after Amy, who is obviously, standing and positioned in ways to accentuate her ass, all right? There are moments where if you look into their actual description, they say, welcome to the Amy and Sonic Love Channel. Okay, all right, Amy and Sonic love each other. If you're a fan of the legendary couple Amy Rose and Sonic the Hedgehog, you've come to the right place.
You're going to
Our
bed.
channel dives
No
into
worries,
the
dude.
romantic world of Amy and Sonic through
We'll play
exciting
again.
videos, from sweet moments to thrilling adventures. So you can join them to explore heartfelt love stories between Amy and Sonic, beautiful fan-made animations about their romance, analysis and reviews of their moments in games. You mean the time that Sonic cheated on Amy? Okay, in Sonic 06? I saw that beginning. See, I saw him make out. That wasn't Amy. Get out of here. And much more exciting content. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any updates. Let's create an amazing community of Amy and Sonic fans together. So you look at it, they say that they're from the United States, but at closer inspection into their actual content, it doesn't really seem like they are. But what kind of love animations are we talking about? Let's look at it real quick. Oh no, we spotted Amy stuck. Oh no, dude. Oh, look at that ass. It's gotta grab that ass. Yeah, if you look really closely at the description, it's like, this is how apparently they try to bypass the new YouTube Elsagate rules. Disclaimer, Amy Hi Hi channel.
Have you listened to the To Go Again by Yeet? No, I haven't.
Mature audience over 13, okay. Within the meaning of Title 16 CFR
Oh shit! All right, I gotta clutch up here.
Children's Online Privacy Protection Act are not intended for children under 13 years old. Now, if you look really carefully at it, okay, can you really direct something to a mature audience when the actual focus of your material is a fucking children's game? Sonic the Hedgehog? I mean, seriously, it's just a blatant, lie to get past the system. And of course, if you look carefully at this material, this is all, for 32 minutes, kids are just looking at Sonic the Hedgehog basically stare at Amy's ass the whole time. Oh no, what do? I guess I better start taking photos of her ass, dude. I better start taking selfies as well. Oh boy, real kid-friendly material. I almost feel like the kind of content that I'm actually showing to critique will end up getting me a strike on my own channel, okay? And you know what? It's going to be funny if I do get the strike and these people don't. It really will just show you how wild some of the moderation can be at times. So here's some other examples.
Oh, dude, you didn't
running
me.
around our house.
Sad.
We're gonna walk in. Oh, there's just Amy. All right, we gotta have this long shot of Amy. Her body, everything captured right here.
GG.
And of course,
I had to
Sonic,
warm
I
up.
think, might actually be a doctor. I'm not sure.
I have determined you were shit.
Going to her butt cheek.
Well, it's been a little while.
Amy releases what we call a biohazard. She farts all over Sonic. I wasn't joking when I was talking about the fart fetish material that comes out of this kind of content. Now, there were actually people in even our community that brought this up. Like, one user was saying, here's some context. I was hanging out with my brother a few days ago. He's 5, by the way. And he was showing me videos on YouTube. It was during that I noticed some of the videos that were being recommended to him on the YouTube homepage. I knew YouTube's content for kids could be weird, but the thumbnails on many of these videos were plainly sexual in nature. This is with the restricted filter enabled, and I know no filter is 100%, just thought it was worth mentioning. So yeah, it's actually quite true. If these videos are being recommended to children, right, YouTube's AI or YouTube's algorithm should do a lot better job at moderating this kind of material. But then again, it really is one of the reasons why I say that the worst thing to happen to America since, I would say, probably 9/11 was like the actual iPad being given to kids, okay? Because at the end of it, it's probably the biggest algorithmic attack on the modern day, child, just affecting their brain in the worst ways imaginable, okay? A kid should probably grow up watching something like, I don't know, Dora the Explorer, because at least it has educational value to it. A kid watching stuff like this probably might end up like Jeffrey Dahmer, okay? I'm just putting it out there. And there's other examples of child-friendly material. Like where Amy and, Sonic are going over to the hospital. And yes, this is in fact a 3D rendering of Shadow the Hedgehog with Rouge the Bat, okay, obviously scantily clad, standing outside what appears to be a doctor's office.
Dude, I'm always like expecting you to jump. You never do.
For the water to break, okay? Yeah, real kid-friendly shit, boys. Now, while waiting for the doctor, Sonic and Amy try actually cutting in line in front of Shadow the Hedgehog, and they find it's one of the dumbest things, because Shadow does not care. Shadow and Rouge will beat the shit out of a pregnant woman before they lose their spot in line. And of course, even after all this, the big silver lining here is the baby did not die from any complications, because Amy did in fact go to the doctor and actually deliver the baby. And what does the baby look like? Well, he has no actual... Now, of course, the baby is clearly not Amy's, okay? Because the baby has no genetic features. What the fuck am I doing trying to explain this stupidity to people? What is wrong with me? Now, of course, that channel is not the only one in the mix of all this. There were other channels too.
Dude, this is some weird shit with this Sonic, this kid stuff on YouTube.
Your YouTube, like, recommendations will become as fucked as my virtual machine's recommendations are. For instance, I got this channel, Paper 1001, okay? Now, it sounds pretty cute, all right? I look at this and I think, wow, that's a pretty cute channel, whatever. But then you start looking at the thumbnail and holy shit, everyone has forgotten how to use a condom in this universe. So, like that one innocent Sprunky character, we are now talking about wearing panties together. Apparently, Pinky pregnant, we're giving her a C-section with gummies inside her. Now, this might just be a thumbnail, Ludo. What about the actual content? Let's see that. Oh no, we're getting into like serious doctor medical scripts right here. Okay. All right, it's a DIY hospital in the Sprunky universe. Just imagine walking up to your child and just imagine walking up to your kid on their little iPad. You left them alone at dinner at Chili's. You get up to go to the bathroom after you had your meal and you see them watching the water break on a Sprunky character. And I shit you not, they will whip out the scalpel and give an actual C-section to this Sprunky character. So you stick it in the water balloon and lo and behold, we are getting a little Sprunky out of there, boys. Oh, we've got twins, dude. This is crazy. And the brain rot just doesn't even stand there, okay? It just keeps going on. Again, none of this has to make any sense. We're adults. We think stories have to make sense. People have always said shit like Skibbity Toilet is brain rot, but Skibbity Toilet actually has like a lore and actual shit attached to it, all right? I would say that this is like high performance, like art in a way. This is artistic. This is beauty, okay? This is not at the same tier of like delivering Sprunky babies to children. Now, if you look at this kind of content, right, like Sprunky is kind of killing it, okay? 709,000 views on two women, two Sprunky chicks in towels. Of course, you've got almost 1 million views 3 weeks ago on Pinky being a little pregnant. And of course, if you look at the actual like comments to this, you might think, whoa, maybe we'll actually get to read from people in this. And of course, you'll find like for 904,000 views, they certainly have a very small amount of comments right here. And this is the funniest shit too, okay? I can show you the worst performing video of mine, which probably would have been like in the last like 6 months, would have been where I played a game called, Crowded Followed. And it still has more interactions than like a 904,000 viewed video here. So it makes me wonder if maybe there's some botting going on, or again, this is just kids sitting on their iPad with no accounts enabled, just like watching the next brain rot clip auto feed them. So you start to look into it, bro, this is not a Sprunky story. This is Sprunky but humans. Bro, what did I watch? I think an actual human jumped in there. This is wired. They're just kids, bro. And then they respond, you have such a sharp eye to notice that. Nah, bro, 30 seconds of watching this and I can already see that I'm on a watch list myself. Now, sometimes you'll come across content as well that goes down more into the Sprunky universe. Like, here's one where, like, literally 9 days ago, all phases of Saz, Wenda, in new Incredibox Sprunky. And of course, you look at the thumbnails, and we're just undressing, like, children's characters on the internet, dog. What are we doing? What is wrong with us? So, you know how we always used to like complain about Sniper Wolf giving like the shittiest reaction videos? I'm going to show you a YouTube channel that does even less work than Sniper Wolf, okay? So, this one channel is like videos on my channel are reactions to someone's content. I always add my own author's comment and do a review. So, I watched one of their videos, and of course, they were stolen from a channel known as Wantoons. So, what is the actual review? What is the actual like piece of critique they offer? Watch this.
This video is amazing!
Whoa, this video is amazing! Fire emoji! I had to block off her like actual tits and everything. Like, man, everything is so hypersexualized in this universe. It really is just content made for absolute children. Like, that's all it is. I love how the people here get like absolutely clickbaited in this too. It's like, it didn't even show them pregnant. Oh, this person's mad. They're like, I need to see a pregnancy at some point. Christ. And of course, all of this ended up taking me down, I shit you not, to a channel that literally uploads women farting all day, every day. So this one channel, all right, Generic Jessica, will upload channels, like very actively, by the way. Girls Do Poo, Wild Cherry Bathroom Scene, Extended Cut. And then, of course, you scroll down a little bit. The video that I got recommended was obviously Minecraft Girl Poops in Her Sleep. Oh, yeah. Oh, there we go, boys. Ooh, we got a little Minecraft farting. What is this like? Oh! 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 Oh, wow! Woo! Who is watching this, man? Who gets into it, bro? That's lovely. No, she poop. Yeah, if you're farting like that, you've definitely let go of a little more than some gas. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen, this is the future of ElsaGate. This is the future of, like, again, these children content farms, right? 7 years ago, this problem was called out. And mind you, it was actually pretty heavy 7 years ago. Like, the problem was definitely much more substantial. We're talking videos that ended up getting, like, millions upon millions of views. Back in the days of peak ElsaGate, even channels that were pretty much on top of their game, like Jake Paul, were competing, if not really competing, getting less viewership and subscriber gain than some of these ElsaGate toy game channels, right? It was like big bucks at the time. Like, it was a serious gravy train if you got onto it like 7 years ago. But obviously, YouTube has been cracking down on it. The videos that I've shown you, the channels that I've shown you, I hope end up being turned down or like at least removed by YouTube, because it does fall outside their community guidelines, right? This is honestly like damaging brain rot for children. But, you know, looking further into the whole ElsaGate stuff, it really just shows that beyond the YouTube moderation, which no system is ever going to be perfect for moderation, it really shows that there is an incredibly serious market that still exists for this day. Because realistically, what I've shown you is content on YouTube. But what I haven't shown you this video, and what I do want to show you sometime next week or down the road, is the level of ElsaGate brain rot that exists all over TikTok. Because while YouTube's community guidelines have caught up, TikTok's, at least in my opinion, have not. And over there, and places like Facebook, the level of brain rot that exists that is attacking, again, children as young as 5 or 4, or even younger than that, okay? Children is like, shit, kids are coming out of the fucking womb with iPads these days. That is a level of insanity that probably needs to be discussed. And it makes me wonder, like, every time I see a kid at a restaurant who's just been given an iPad while the adults talk and eat, I wonder what that kid is looking at while the parents, blissfully unaware, consume their slop. That's what I actually sit down and wonder. Anytime I see, like, any kid with just an iPad, like, just scrolling through it on the internet, it's usually stuff like this. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, ElsaGate never really went away. It died a little bit, but the industry is still there, and it will always continue to prey on your children or your young loved ones. And if you're a YouTuber watching this who's like, man, I get so many crazy yellow
GG, dude, that was fun.
Age restrictions, and you see stuff
All
like
right, I
this
got one more in me.
YouTube,
I gotta head out.
YouTube should hopefully eventually jump down this trend, okay? They're not as clever as the naked yoga people. Don't get that twisted. But yeah, ElsaGate's weird, man. It always starts with, like, Sonic the Hedgehog, and it always ends in Minecraft girls farting in your face every single fucking
All right,
time.
boys, get after it.
If you like what you saw, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.
You wanna go to bed?
I had to do my first ever last.
Love you. Good night. Fucking bullshit. Ooh. Ooh. G motherfucking G, dude. Got him. Got him. I'll give you a best 2 out of 3. On Luigi, at least. Oh no. Bro stock. Save me. Jeez, dude. Way to throw that one out there. Ugh. All right, dude. Think, do I want to keep streaming while I go to sleep? I don't think so. I think I'm going to go ahead and call it a night, dude. It was good hanging out with everybody. We had quite a few people stop by. That's always fun. Appreciate you pushing me to play some Smash. Always fun. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Bye, guys.